I've been going back and looking at some games from the World Blitz and World Rapid Play Championships, and there's some fantastic stuff there. So I'd like to show you this game between Anish Giri playing white and Daniil Dubov black. It's really entertaining. That's all I'm going to say for the moment. Starts off in a very orthodox way. So it's a kind of reti, but now we transpose to this sort of King's Indian Grunfeld with the fianchetto. In fact, well, completely symmetrical at the moment. And this line was tested in the 1980s by Karpov and Kasparov, and well, it's very current as well. And you might say typical Giri. You know, he likes to play very solid, very orthodox openings, and generally looks for a slight solid advantage, and then, well, he has great technique. Daniil Dubov, well, he often comes up with more colourful openings, more interesting openings. So how is he going to try and stir things up in this position? Well, first of all, a pawn sacrifice. Okay, let's see what happens. So Giri accepts the invitation. Why not? Everything still seems very solid. Here we go. Pawn sacrifice number 2. Very interesting. So he's just developing very quickly. Notice that white's king is still in the middle. Black has castle. That's what makes the difference here. Giri exchanges on c6. Now he doesn't take the second pawn, which I think is wise. Now he plays bishop e3, protecting that d pawn. But let's just have a very quick look at bishop takes c6. The problem is this opens up the b file. This bishop is loose. The d pawn is loose. And this is suddenly a little bit tricky for white. And you've got to watch out for this bishop flying in on h3 to stop white castling. And if castles, well, you can give one pawn back, but black is not in any danger here. That king is a little bit vulnerable to a check. It's going to be, I don't think white can hang on to this pawn. Black is absolutely fine. White even has to be a little bit careful there. So just grabbing the next pawn certainly doesn't promise white anything. So Giri plays bishop e3, protecting his nice pawn on d4. But bishop h3. So here's the point, that Dubov has gained a move with that quick development and pawn sacrifice. So the bishop prevents white castling. But f3 still seems solid enough for white. The king prepares just to come to f2, and that looks quite secure. Rook b8. So we can see that this knight coming to c6 and this exchange has opened, or black now has a semi-open file you can operate on. So b3 is very solid, and a rook b4. So you can see that Dubov just has a little initiative here. He's gained time, and now that d pawn is under fire from these pieces. Okay, well, white could simply return that pawn, and that's what happens. King f2. At least that's what Giri is hoping will happen. I mean, it's quite possible for black to take this pawn. I guess Giri was hoping he might be slightly better if that pawn is a bit weak. But here is where Dubov went for quite a different strategy. He didn't just want to grab that pawn back. So I'd like you to have a little think. How would you play this as black? I'll have a quick slurp of tea. You have a little think. Black to play. You've got to think in Dubov's way. You want to try and stir things up and put pressure on your opponent. So black to play here. Cheers. Well, instead of taking on d4, Dubov played f5. I guess it's pretty inviting to advance the f-pawn. And after bishop takes c6, right, have another little think. Even if you didn't get to this position, have a think now. Black to play. This is tremendous. So Dubov is, remember, it's a rapid play game. Still reasonably sensible, but Dubov, he just is going for it now. f4. Well, first of all, if bishop takes, then bishop takes, pawn on d4, check, and the rook in the corner hangs. So g takes f4. And now e5. Well, what a concept. First of all, the f-pawn is given, and now the e-pawn is given. Why? Because it opens up this diagonal. So with all those moves, all these pawn sacrifices, notice how Dubov has been able to prise open white's king. And let's just see what happens if f takes d5, then queen h4 check, king comes back to g1, bishop takes, black's piece is flying to the position. I mean, this is already a very dangerous attack. See, that rook is shut in the corner, and, well, if pawn takes, obviously not best, but black forces a checkmate. Isn't it fantastic? Isn't it poetic how that queen's rook actually is able to enter the attack? And that's checkmate. Not all forced, but it's quite clear that f takes and the check is very good for black. Giri played d takes e5. Check, and the king had to come to g1, and that rook is shut in. Okay, Dubov still needs to get things going on the king's side because these pawns cover some very important squares. So rook takes f4, giving up the exchange. But of course that does blow open the dark squares, and, well, yeah, rook g4 check is now threatened. So bishop takes rook, queen takes. I mean, miraculously, the computer believes that white is still okay in this position. I say okay, you know, should be able to hold the balance, but you can only do so with a series of miracle moves, frankly. I think trying to defend this is well, any time control is very, very difficult. Check. King moves in the corner. King h8. Queen e4. So Giri is, you know, trying to hound this queen, you know, begging for a queen exchange. He is the exchange up. But check, of course. Dubov certainly doesn't agree to that and brings the rook in. So that, well, this queen is forced away. Queen d5, and now a check. King e3. And now rook f8. I mean, at various points along the way, my computer indicates that there are better moves for both players, actually. But I think, you know, I just want to show you how the game proceeds without diving off too many tangents, because I think it's all about the momentum in Blitz and in Rapid here. Momentum counts for a lot. And here this is just so difficult to defend, with the king wandering around in the middle and all of black's pieces very active. Queen c5 played. Queen f4 check. King f2, queen h4, and the king comes back again. And now here Dubov realizes the way that he can start to drive the king over, because instead of repeating the position with queen f4, he plays queen g5. And if the king comes back to f2, then you can play like this, and the king is driven over to the other side of the board. So anyway, after queen g5, Giri played king d3, rook d8 check, and now the king is hounded to its doom. And these bishops are just very beautiful here. Rook b8 check, king a4. Incredible how the king has gone right from g1 across the other side of the board. Threatening queen a3 mate. So a3. And now, you know, there are various ways to go, but Dubov keeps it simple and just takes the queen. Of course, if the king moves up, then it's going to be mate in a couple of moves. So Giri has to give up the queen. But here's the point. After the queen check, the bishop is picked up, and then queen and bishop against the king. Well, the lone king. It's going to be a very easy win for black. So, well, an absolutely splendid game from Dubov. And yeah, let's just look at those pawn sacrifices again at the start. So first of all, we had knight e4. That's the first pawn sacrifice. And then we had knight c6, second pawn sacrifice. And then a little later on, we had third pawn sacrifice. And then the fourth pawn sacrifice in order to get through to the king. I mean, it's absolutely brilliant. Dazzling stuff from Dubov. I'm going to show you in my next video. I'll show you another game from these championships. There's more to see. Thanks for watching.